Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to be reviewing the 8BitDo Ultimate Controller. And yes, I pronounce it as the 8BitDo, not the 8BitDo. Why? Because if you look at the 8BitDo's catalog, almost all the controllers seem to really emulate Nintendo-style controllers, and they tend to work really well with Nintendo. So, I'm gonna go with the 8BitDo. So this is a pretty new controller coming out on May 31st, 2022, and it retails for about $45 across the board. Amazon, Best Buy, your mom's house, that's how much it costs to get this controller, more or less. And so first impressions, this thing is doing a good job, but I'll get more into that later. One problem that I do have with it off the bat, it is an attached cable, basically meaning that you can't take it out, which is a problem for me, and I've discussed that issue before. I don't like not being able to take out a wire, because the moment that wire does not work, that means I'm gonna have to go get a replacement, which sucks. That's just me though, doesn't have to be you. But if there's any consolation, there is like kind of like a breakaway part where you could just kind of like, come on, there you go. There's like a breakaway part where you could just kind of like take it off there, which is a little bit of a consolation, but I just don't understand how that's going to make a difference if literally anything before that breakaway part starts to cause problems. I just don't get it. Again, if any of this part breaks, you're going to need a whole replacement controller, which I just never co-signed, sorry. But hey, for those who are very careful with their controllers, this may not be an issue. And for those who want to see the channel grow, or just keep up with the latest tech reviews, you guys should like the video and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it, and it does the channel a big service. Thank you. But besides that, this controller is actually doing a really bang up job. It's kind of like a cross between retro controllers and the modern Xbox controller, which I actually like. I didn't expect myself to like it that much, but it holds pretty well. It kind of looks like the outline of like a PlayStation controller, but no, still kind of feels really good like an Xbox, and I gotta recommend it. The buttons and thumbsticks are only slightly different from what you're used to on a regular Xbox controller, so no need to worry about whether or not there's going to be like a learning curve, because it's a straightforward shot. It's really cool. On top of that, I really like the triggers. I don't know why. Like, it's regular triggers, but I do like the triggers. The triggers, I don't know what it is. And the bumpers are also not bad either. It has a bit of a mechanical feel, so maybe that's the reason why both the bumpers and triggers, you could tell, have like kind of like a mechanical feel and not a membraney type of trigger set, which I am in love with. On top of that, the controller comes with wonderful, absolutely delicious, quite tasty gourmet meal back buttons. You can't even buy them. Like, these buttons come right along the inside of the handles of the controller, which you couldn't ask more for. Like, that's what they're supposed to be. That's where they're supposed to be. Razer has tried other versions, and other controllers have tried other versions of back buttons, but my friend, it will never get better. It will never get easier. You will never love it more than when it's coming down the inside of the hand. My fault, guys. My brain just blanked just then. Coming down the inside of a controller. You just can't do it any better than that. So I love everything just off the first impressions of the controller. Let's plug it in and see how it works. So here's the 8BitDo Ultimate software, right? We're just gonna get that bad boy, and I'm sure it's gonna be just like every other software we've ever tried. The ability to create profiles. Let's look at this thing right here. Buttons, sticks. Check this out. I actually might remove myself in 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye. Adjust stick sensitivities, dead zones, things like that. It's pretty cool. You can even invert the X and Y axes, which is not bad. You can swap the sticks as well. So make the right stick the left stick and left stick the right stick. Never understood the real benefit of that. Maybe if you're left-handed and I don't even know. You can adjust the dead zone to put it like that, stuff like that. Here we have the triggers. You can mess with the triggers. Again, adjust the sensitivities for the triggers. Make it so that the dead zone is whichever way that you want it to be, which is fine. And here are the vibration sensitivities, which is pretty cool. You can really feel the vibrations here, which is great. Gives you a bit of haptic and everything. And finally, here are the buttons. So, if you want to make LT, the share button, you could do that. But we're actually going to put that back because that wouldn't even make any sense. But yeah, things like that. Like, you could just have a blast with it. And then you would just save the profile right over Mnya, or you could create a new profile or whatever, and then you can switch through the profiles on the controller, which is not a big deal. But I'm here to say this again. These softwares, most people don't use them. so I never really rate a controller too much off of its software, but it is a bonus. It never really hurts, I'll just say that. Now the controller does have some built-in functionality that is pretty cool. You have the profile switcher at the bottom that when you press through it, after you've synced up your device using the ultimate 8BitDo software, you'll be able to switch through all your profiles right then and there. Then it also has a star button in the middle that allows you to button swap. So A can swap with B and vice versa, and X can swap with Y and vice versa. And I'll actually show you the rest with this picture right here. And only the buttons shown can be swapped with. So A can swap with B and B can swap with Y, and the left stick button, which is what LSB is, can swap with the right stick button, or the LSB can swap with A, or RSB can swap with Y. Like, all of these letters and combos can be had, which is pretty cool and gives you a wide range of button swapping that you could do. But again, I just don't really know why anyone would do that. But hey, people have their reasons. But once you hold down these two buttons, you press the star, and then boom, those buttons are switched. And then you can redo the same thing every time, or unplug your controller and the default settings will go back to normal. Then you have built-in volume control, which again, I don't tend to use too often, but for people who maybe don't have more higher end headphones, this might prove useful. As you can see here, if you hold the profile button while pressing up and down, you increase game volume. If you hold the profile button while pressing left and right, you increase or decrease voice chat volume. So, you know, the controller has a few things built in that's pretty nice, but not really game changing. So after playing some fighting and racing games, I gotta say there was a deep enjoyment to be had with this controller. It felt very natural, didn't have too much problems with just about anything. I enjoyed it a lot, but unfortunately the same really could not be said about shooters. When I tried it with Apex Legends and a few other games, it just wasn't doing what it should have been done. I felt like the thumbsticks were really tight, and you know, the reaction and it just is not a shooter kind of controller. You will have it more for what it's kind of meant to be, arcadey, fun, retro, platforming kind of controller, and I wouldn't be mad. So overall, this is a pretty good controller, but I can only recommend it for those who plan on playing fighting, arcade, racing games, or adventure games. If you want to do anything competitive, this is not the controller I would give you. But for a lot of fun, it's a lot of fun. And Chukavelli is done with your review. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace, man.